This new study published today in the Journal of Adolescent Youth looked at more than 6,000 middle school children across the nation and found that nearly 7% are not obese but severely obese in the 99th percentile for weight, which means the problem is worse than believed. The second study by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation and Trust for America's Health, both public health advocacy groups, not only found obesity rates up in 28 states, but also that more than a quarter of the population is obese in 2/3 of the states. But why, if we know this is going on, do we keep putting on weight? In a series of our own Nightline reports on different aspects of the problem, we heard theories about why we're gaining and theories on how we can lose. First, theories about what's in it, what's in the food we eat. There is the single ingredient theory, that it's fructose.
Fructose is the cause of the current epidemic.
Robert Lustig at the University of California in San Francisco argues that the introduction in the 1970s of a low-cost sweetener called high fructose corn syrup lowered the cost of fructose in general, so that now it's showing up everywhere, as he demonstrated for me, in quantities you don't really expect.
Everyone seems to think yogurt is good for you, and yogurt is healthy, but this has 27 grams of sugar for this yogurt. So, is it worth it?
This has 27 grams of sugar, too, per serving.
It's everywhere.
Processed meat, Bobby, is a scary thing. And that's not to mention what else they put in it to preserve it. They actually put a color fixer chemical in the processed meat to turn it red so that you'll buy it.
So it's not just naturally red because it came from the inside of a cow. They're putting colored dye and...
It's not dye. It's a chemical that is a preservative and a color fixer, and it turns the meat red. Otherwise, the meat would look putrid gray.
Americans want quick, cheap, convenient food, and if you look at the ingredients list on something like this, it's actually kind of scary. It starts off with high fructose corn syrup, and then the bologna is made from mechanically separated chicken and pork and corn syrup and modified food starch.
So chicken, pork, and syrup.
Yum.
I'm hungry too, Dave. Let's grab a burger.
If you go buy a piece of processed meat, like sandwich meat, for example, at the grocery store, it may have been on that shelf for 3 or 4 weeks. It should be gray. People wouldn't buy it. They'd be sickened by it. So they use a chemical called sodium nitrite or sodium nitrate. This chemical, the USDA tried to ban this chemical in the 1970s. They were unsuccessful because of food industry lobbyists. It's still legal, and by the way, it causes cancer. It is such a powerful carcinogenic chemical that it belongs to a class of chemicals called nitrosamines that lab researchers actually inject into mice when they want to give them cancer so they can study the cancer.
Well, what's the name of this?
Sodium nitrite or sodium nitrate. It's listed right on the label, Bobby.
So we can look at lunch meat and we can tell if it's on there or not.
Yeah, so they're eating cancer because it makes the meat look pretty.
When I had the high blood pressure, the blood pressure meds had side effects on me. So then they gave me other medicine to take care of the side effects. They wouldn't stop the other med. My doctor would say, well, you got to be on the blood pressure med because you could have a stroke. And I was like, well, this is making me not feel right. My stomach's wrong. I'm tingling in my hands. And say, oh, well, take this, and then take that, and take this. And what I found was, it was never ending. I would get up in the morning and take a handful of pills. And I felt like I was doing it and hoping for the best. 3 months into going plant-based, I was off all meds. 18 years of meds, 3 months, no meds.
People aren't living longer, they're dying longer.
I'm a steak guy.
Fish.
Sushi, actually.
Got up as heavy as 518 pounds.
6 months you'll be in dialysis or you'll be dead.
I can't have that one candy bar a week because I didn't have an off switch.
You're going to be on insulin the rest of your life.
I wasn't making any progress on the pills.
We see this kind of cancer, there's no known cure.
I was flat on a gurney and they were debating, do I have triple bypass?
I thought that my hypertension was genetic.
You're out of control, and they were not giving me any hope at all.
We had the cure, we've had it
for decades.
What we know from cigarette smoking is the public doesn't like to be lied to.
We need education more than medication.
Can't blame doctors. They're not trained in this field.
I was really angry. I just could not understand why I didn't learn any of this in medical school.
The food industry, which is $1 trillion industry, uses very similar kind of tobacco-style techniques, paying off scientists and funding studies.
What is on our plate is really affecting our environment.
We have been putting the wrong fuel in our body.
Americans, Europeans are being poisoned by these animal foods.
You can see what the person is eating by looking at the plaque in their artery.
There's a plaque right there.
We were literally bypassing the problem.
Without some serious lifestyle changes, this guy will be back.
Foods are the cause of diabetes, of heart disease, of many forms of cancer, of hypertension. And if they're the cause, they can also be the solution.
I had to really look at it to see patients that I knew should be dead by my conventional training, alive and well, tumors melting away.
The power is not inside of our hands as physicians. The power is inside your hands through your life choices.
Don't let your culture hold your heart hostage.
Many symptoms and diseases just melt away even after being there for years.
The doctor said this woman alleges to have lupus, but we're not finding any evidence of it.
The doctor says you're no longer diabetic.
The most important decision anyone makes every day is what they elect to put in their mouths.
I need to make a change, but what do I do?
In the nutrition classes that I teach, a big component of that is taking people to the grocery store and doing hands-on training and teach people label reading.
I think it is something that will really work. It's just my habits.
Probably 95% of America has no idea how to eat.
It's not so much about trying to invent a new way of life, but rather discovering the foods that are right here in front of you.
I think that's the gift of the plant-based diet, is it really kind of taps into all your different creative parts and you just start really experiencing a new variety.
This is my garlic Alfredo. It's just 7 ingredients. Just start out with chopping some onions, chopping some garlic.
We're on the cusp of a paradigm shift. To me, this is the future of food.
I can't imagine another way that we could have a greater impact on our health.
Standing in front of you is obviously not a hindrance in bodybuilding to eat whole plant foods.
To be able to push through 90 minutes and not get stopped by muscle cramps was an amazing feeling.
Food is powerful.
I've been in medicine for over 30 years, and for the very first time, I can truly look someone in the eye and I can say, I can heal you.
Why isn't every person trying this?
It's the best thing that ever happened to me. It saved my life, it saved my marriage.
It's really nice to do things when you get results.
Here, I was in control all along. Gave me freedom.
This is where medicine should be.
Come on. What's on your plate?
People aren't living longer, they're dying longer.